In a small town where everyone knows everyone, a retired black veteran named Marcus finds himself wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. It all started when a group of racist cops planted evidence to frame him, hoping to cover up their own corruption. But what they didn't count on was Marcus' family, especially his grandson Jamal, a young man who'd grown up hearing stories of his grandfather's courage and strength. As the pressure on Marcus mounts, Jamal begins to dig into the case, uncovering dark secrets that no one was supposed to find. What happens next will leave you speechless, as Jamal's plan for revenge takes an unexpected and shocking turn. Who will pay the price for these lies? And can justice truly prevail when the system is rigged? Stay tuned to find out what happens when the tables are turned. Marcus had always been a man of honor, a proud veteran who served his country in ways most would never understand. But after returning home, he found a world that had changed, and not for the better. The town he once knew now seemed filled with shadows, where the very people sworn to protect him were the ones conspiring against him. The local police force, corrupt and entrenched, had long used their power to manipulate situations for their own gain. When they set Marcus up, they thought he'd be an easy target, just another black man they could silence without consequence. But they didn't account for Marcus' family. Jamal, his grandson, had always been close to him, spending hours listening to his grandfather's stories of resilience and fighting for justice. Jamal knew something wasn't right. He knew his grandfather would never hurt anyone. Determined to uncover the truth, Jamal started pulling at threads, finding himself deeper and deeper in a web of lies and deceit. What he uncovered next would change everything. Jamal's search for the truth took him places he never expected. He spent countless nights at the local library, poring over old news articles, police reports, and legal documents. Every time he thought he was getting close to something, the pieces didn't fit, or they vanished altogether. It was as if someone was actively erasing his progress. He soon realized that this wasn't just about his grandfather. This was about a system that had been rigged for years, a corrupt network that stretched far beyond the local police force. Meanwhile, Marcus was growing more desperate. He knew the walls were closing in, but he refused to back down. In the face of mounting pressure, he clung to his belief in justice, even as the town turned its back on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that Jamal was in over his head, but he didn't know how to protect him. As Jamal dug deeper, he began to notice something strange. Certain key players in his grandfather's case, officers, lawyers, even local businessmen, were all connected to a mysterious figure known only as the broker. This shadowy figure seemed to pull the strings from behind the scenes, making sure the case went nowhere. But why? And how far would he go to keep his secrets buried? With each step, Jamal felt the weight of his grandfather's legacy and the threat that loomed over them both. But there was no turning back now. The more he uncovered, the more he realized that revenge might not be enough. What if, in the end, it wasn't just about clearing Marcus' name, but exposing a web of corruption that could tear the town apart? The closer Jamal got to the truth, the more dangerous things became. Strange cars started showing up outside his apartment, and phone calls began coming from untraceable numbers. At first, he thought it was just paranoia, but the unease in his gut told him otherwise. Someone didn't want him digging any deeper. Marcus noticed the change in his grandson too. Jamal was growing more anxious, his once confident demeanor now clouded with worry. One evening, as Jamal sifted through more files, he found a breakthrough, an encrypted message that led him to a safe deposit box. Inside, he discovered documents that detailed a massive cover-up, implicating several prominent figures, including the mayor and even some of Marcus' old military comrades. Everything pointed back to the broker, but what Jamal still couldn't figure out was why. Why frame Marcus? Why go so far to keep this secret? Before he could make sense of it all, something unimaginable happened. Marcus was attacked outside his home, beaten senseless by two men wearing masks. When Jamal found him, bloodied and barely conscious, he felt a burning rage unlike anything he had ever known. He realized that the game had changed. This wasn't just about exposing corruption anymore. It was personal. Desperate, Jamal went to the only person he thought could help, the local detective who had always been suspicious of the police force. But even she had her limits. She told Jamal that the power of the broker was vast, and anyone who tried to take him down disappeared without a trace. Jamal knew he was in over his head, but now, with his grandfather's life on the line, there was no turning back. The pieces were all there, but time was running out. The clock was ticking, and the people responsible were closing in. Jamal had one shot to put everything on the line, but at what cost? As the tension reached its peak, the question remained: would he be able to expose the truth before it was too late, or would the darkness that had consumed the town swallow them whole? Jamal's mind raced as he processed the detective's warning. The deeper he went, the more he realized just how tangled this web of lies had become. But there was no turning back now. His grandfather's life was at stake, and Jamal wasn't about to let the corrupt system win. Yet, when he returned to Marcus' house to check on him, something felt off. The door was slightly ajar, the lights flickering like a bad omen. Inside, everything appeared normal at first, but then Jamal noticed it. The file he'd been keeping on the broker was gone. Panic surged through him. How could this be? He had locked it up himself just hours before. He ran through the house, searching every room, every drawer, until his eyes landed on something unexpected. A letter. It wasn't addressed to him, but to Marcus. And the handwriting was unmistakable. It was from Marcus' old army friend, Detective Harris. Jamal's heart skipped. Harris had always been a loyal friend to his grandfather, but Jamal had never suspected he could be part of this. He read the letter, feeling the blood drain from his face as he took in the words. Asterisk, it's too late, Marcus. They know everything. We can't stop them now. I'm sorry. Asterisk. The shock of it hit him like a punch to the gut. His own family, his own blood, had been complicit in this conspiracy all along. Harris, someone Marcus trusted, had been feeding information to the broker. The revelation hit Jamal like a ton of bricks. He had always believed this was about a corrupt system. He never imagined that the betrayal would come from someone so close. But the letter held one more chilling piece of information. The broker wasn't just controlling the town. They were planning something bigger, something more destructive. The case wasn't just about Marcus anymore. It was about covering up a decades-long operation involving money laundering, illegal arms deals, and a network of high-level officials from across the state. The town was only the tip of the iceberg. Jamal had always thought the danger was external. Why Harris? Why betray us? Jamal demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Why turn your back on the man who trusted you? On me? Harris let out a heavy sigh, looking as though he had already made his peace with what he was about to say. It was never about Marcus, or you, or your family. It was about survival. You think you can take down the broker, but you don't know what you're dealing with. They own this town. They own everyone in it. And if I didn't play my part, I'd be 6 feet under by now. Jamal felt the fury rise within him, but he kept his cool. He needed to understand the full scope of this before he could make his move. What's coming next? What's the plan? Harris hesitated, then spoke the words that would forever change everything. The broker plans to frame you next, Jamal. They've already planted the evidence. They've been watching you. They'll make it look like you were the mastermind behind everything. All this time, you've been playing into their hands without even knowing it. Jamal felt a wave of shock wash over him. He had been manipulated this entire time. The stakes had just escalated. His life was now on the line, and he had no choice but to expose the broker once and for all. Suddenly, a loud crash from outside shattered the moment. Jamal rushed to the window and saw a black SUV pull up to the cabin. It was now or never. He knew Harris wouldn't survive what was coming, and neither would he if he didn't act fast. Jamal grabbed a file from the table, the very file that had started this whole mess, and bolted for the door. As he made his way to his car, he heard gunshots echoing in the distance. He didn't dare look back. The only thing that mattered now was getting to the press, getting the truth out there. He couldn't stop the storm, but he could make sure the world knew who was behind it. When he reached the safe house where he planned to meet the investigative journalist who'd been following the case, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Marcus. I know everything, Jamal. Stay safe. I'll take care of it. Jamal's heart dropped. How could his grandfather possibly handle it all? What he didn't realize was that Marcus had one